Hi there, this is Mr. Evans, and this video looks at the use of data in marketing decision making. So this is the final video in this section looking at 3.3.2, understanding markets and customers, and there's quite a big section. It's covered primary, secondary data, sampling, interpreting marketing data, price elasticity, demand, etc. And now we're just on this final bullet point, bringing all of this section together, looking at how businesses can use the data that they collect to make marketing decisions and do their planning. So it might just be worth you quickly just reviewing before I put them up on the slide here, what different forms of data that you can think of that businesses use to make their marketing decisions. So have a little think about all of the little bits of data that we've talked about that businesses can use to make their marketing decisions. I want to pause the video and just do a quick brainstorm, see what you remember. So the different forms of data that businesses use in marketing decision making include things like primary market research, secondary market research, past sales data, sampled market research, so doing their sampling, extrapolating sales data, use of quantitative and qualitative information, market mapping, the income elasticity of demand data, price elasticity of demand data. So there are videos on all of these, and you need to be aware of what each of these different forms of data can be used for. So, what do businesses use that data for? Well, obviously there are a number of uses of data for a business. So, first of all, a business collects this market research data to allow them to understand their customers and competitors. In other words, it's going to allow them to understand their market a lot better. The market includes all of the customers and all of the competitors who are competing for those customers. Okay, so by collecting market research data, the business should get a better understanding of the environment that they're operating in. So it will allow them to identify their competitors through things like market mapping and consumer research, asking consumers who they believe their competitors are, which would allow the business to differentiate and create a USP, something that makes the business unique. It allows the business to make decisions on the marketing mix, the product, the price, the promotion and place of the product. There are actually 7 Ps in the marketing mix, which I'll produce some videos on, but essentially collecting this data allows the business to assess the product it's selling, and as I say, it can differentiate or create a USP to try and differentiate it from its competitors, find out what price consumers are prepared to pay, and make decisions on all of these aspects of the marketing mix using the data that they collect. Should allow them to develop their product portfolio. So, particularly the use of the things like the income elasticity of demand. What sort of products have we got in our product portfolio? Do we need to develop our products to ensure that we're going to be able to satisfy consumers in the future? Data allows businesses to set sales forecasts and targets. This is really important in terms of setting budgets, communicating with the production department about how many units are going to need to be produced, sales targets for staff, etc. And it's just worth mentioning that businesses are using technology to gather and analyse data in a really cost-effective manner these days. So there's huge amounts of data that can be gathered, stuck into databases, analysed, etc. And they can do that in quite a cost-effective manner to enable a business to make allow business to make informed decisions that should lead to greater value for the business in the future. However, there are some limitations, of course, of data. Many of these have been discussed in previous videos. One example being paralysis by analysis. So this concept of having so much data collected that it actually becomes difficult to analyse everything and make decisions. Businesses can create an awful lot of complexity for themselves, and the best businesses will kind of cut through that complexity to get to simplicity and to be able to make decisions based on all of this marketing data they collect. One of the dangers of collecting so much data is you've just got too much going on and it becomes difficult to make decisions. Much of the collection of data is going to be about what's happened in the past and people's opinions in the present. Will that actually be an accurate guide to what's going to happen in the future? And so therefore those things like the sales forecast that we're setting or the products that we're developing, will they actually be useful for customers and successful in the future? Maybe the business is collecting insufficient or unrepresentative samples, so the samples not being big enough or simply not representing the market. And it will be difficult for a business to assess new products. Okay, so if they bring out a new product, they don't have much information about that product, and therefore it can be very difficult for a business to say, okay, so what was going to be the sales forecast for this new product? We don't have any information on it, so that's a limitation of marketing data. Okay, there can be potential bias in the use of data. So if you've got a manager who particularly wants, for personal reasons, they've come up with this great idea that they can't let go, they might look to skew the data in their favour or misinterpret some data because they've got a personal interest in launching that product. Finally, kind of related to the paralysis by analysis, I guess, is the risk of stifling creativity. If we're basing every single decision on scientifically collected data, we risk being in a situation where people aren't allowed to express creativity, come up with new ideas, etc., and that can damage a business's ability to be really innovative, create new ideas and satisfy customers. Okay, so as I said, last video in this section on 3.3.2, understanding markets and customers.